For today's shave, I'm going to be using the dart from Blackland razors. Inside of it, I'm going to stick this Gillette 7 o'clock black super platinum. Here is the dart. That top cap surface there is kind of getting some attention, kind of in a negative way, by people who think maybe it should be a little shinier. You know, I think it was purposed that way by the manufacturer, by Blackland razors, just to kind of have a more machined look. But so in a way, it was intentional. So also the brush we're going to have, this is a Whip Dog tall handle, 24 millimeter, and then inside of it has been put a Declaration Grooming B5. So badger knot. I'm going to put it in a little soak bowl and let it do just that for just a minute. The soap we're going to use today, WSP Gaelic Tweed. I'm a sucker for the Green Irish Tweed duplicating scents, the clones there. I really like that scent. So we'll see how this one goes. I'm going to pull out a chunk of it, probably a tad more than a quarter teaspoon. We'll see how it goes. I tested out some WSP a month or two ago, and man, it gave me a good creamy lather. Really slick, very nice, which prompted me to look at what they had, and then you know, pick the Gaelic Tweed. All right, so we'll see what we get today. So the base plate looks like that. Top cap looks like that. This is the one that I'm kind of marathoning, so I think it's actually going to be on its 4th use right now. I've got a log that tells me exactly. Another thing that people may beef about are the tooling marks underneath the base plate. That doesn't bother me at all, because that's underneath, and in a way this looks more purposeful than the marks on the top cap. But here's the cool thing, it's a stainless steel razor, and so with just a little bit of elbow grease and some type of buffing mechanism, or high grit sandpaper or something like that, then you can kind of take care of that top. Now, I don't know anything about that yet, but there are a lot of guys online who do. Looking forward to having one of them do something to their razor. I don't necessarily want to bring it to a polish, a mirror type polish, because that's not the theme of the razor here. So I'm waiting for one of them to kind of get the same result that is on the handle, the same kind of matte look there, and then I'm going to duplicate their method probably to try to get there. No alignment needed, holds it in perfect alignment so far that I've seen every time. And the blade is in, and then we're going to hook out. This is a kind of a hard soap, easy to squeeze around and stuff, but I mean, it's more firm than most of the artisan soaps that are around. Kind of makes it easier to work with, easier to press into the bottom of something. Today I'm going to go back to my fine lather bowl by Fine Accoutrements. It's not big enough for me, and there's the quarter teaspoon plus put in there. It doesn't actually hold. It's great for generating lather, but then once I generate what I use for about 4 passes in whatever bowl I want to use, well, this is where this has enough room for my brush, but not really enough room for the rest of the lather to be. And that's my problem with it. Now, a lot of people like it. They just must use it in different ways than I do. They also may not mind all the lather manipulation to try to keep it in the bowl. That may be fine with them. It's not for me. I'd rather have this Dollar Tree goofy looking bowl where I don't have to worry about trying to keep it in and manipulate it and move it and all that stuff. All right, before creating the lather, I'm just going to splash my face. With some water. First, as usual, 24-hour beard growth. This is cool water that I'll be using, and it is hard water. Shake all the water out of the brush. Ready to go. And the reason I'm trying this thing that has been unsuccessful for me in the past is because this is a much smaller knot than I have with pretty much any of my other brushes. And so I wonder how it will behave in this smaller bowl. So let's just see what happens. This knot has started to splay for me reasonably. The last maybe 2 times I've used it. Before that it was kind of hard and rigid, not very pleasant, although the tips were fantastic from day one. Super soft, just insanely so. So just a damp run has given us a little bit of paste. Okay, now we'll start with the adding of the water. I personally like to do it. I'll mention as usual about the soaking of the badger brush. Some people don't think you should do that at all. I tried it both ways, and I like soaking it. So maybe choose what you like after you give both a shot. And this bowl has got this great principle. It's got these great ridges in it that help to generate the lather and cause your bristles to flex. I think maybe what people are doing is kind of a hybrid face lather. They're just coming to this for long enough to kind of get it and fill their brush up, you know, and then move on from there. And then maybe they keep adding water to their brush on their face because there's just no way this thing will hold 4 passes of lather without you having to do a whole lot of moving around. That's 1.5 teaspoons of water in. Starting to get some nice lather. This is a very dense brush. A lot of hairs, a lot of bristle hairs in there. And I think it kind of generates a lather that's more dense because there's less, maybe there's less to generate air pockets. I'm just guessing here, folks. But the lather does seem to be kind of creamier and less airy than just about every other brush I have. Maybe that's because the density allows less air to be in your lather. Haven't quite decided how I like that or not, whether that's a positive or a negative. So far it seems to mean that I have to use more soap to get enough lather to do the job. So we'll see. But since this is a smaller knot, I thought maybe this bowl could be used a little better. So let's just see what happens. So we've got 2 teaspoons of water in it now, and it looks terrific. All kinds of creamy and all that. Do a finger test. I think I like that amount of slickness right there. A little bit of cushion. So let's just see what happens. And wet the face again. Gotta get those hairs soft. ready to be cut. Not too soft. You don't want them to, I believe the theory is you don't want them to be so soft that they just flop around and lay right on the skin, but you do want them a little soft. All right. Well, as usual, this thing feels amazing. So this is the second time I'll be using the dart. It's been just recently released here. And the first soap I used it on was Saponificio Veracino, an Italian maker. And it was the Opuntia, I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, scent. And it was very nice, but I mixed it a little too thin. And so it seems like with the dart, you really need to have a really, really slick soap or it'll drag a little bit on your skin. Now, maybe you don't mind that, but I decided to try to richen up my soap a little bit during the shave, and it worked just fine, and it definitely improved. Now, let me get in here and squeeze and get to scrub on here. Right now, it is kind of hard to get that splay going with this brush because it's just the bristles are so dense and short. All right. I'm happy with that, I think. So, if you're not a very good maker of lather, or you make it too thin, the dart may be a good indicator of that. I used my Gillette Silver Blue blade in it yesterday, had about 5 or 6 uses on it. It is, to me, for my skin, it was a very good match. Gave me a very close shave in most areas, and it even gave me an above average shave in my trouble spot. So that's a good match. It did make me feel a little at risk of some irritation or some cuts. I felt like I had to be careful. However, I only ended up with just a tiny bit of irritation that was gone in 10 minutes. So let's see what the 7 o'clock black will do. Not experiencing any drag. I think this is probably not quite wet enough. Just keep on going and see what happens. The handle's very confidence inspiring. It's one of the reasons I chose the I went ahead and bought the matte or machined version. They expect to release that was a little drag right there. That's a technique fail right there. I should have been more vigilant with making sure my skin was in the right condition, was in the right, a little bit of a stretch, not an extreme stretch, and it just wasn't, and so the razor caught that. Fortunately, I had kind of a loose grip, and we'll see if I get, definitely don't get any, I'm not getting any bleed or anything. So that's cool. Now, on the tendon over here, I'm going to try, oh, that's a better, you know, while I'm turning, if I turn my head to the left, I got this big old hill, big old speed bump right there. So what I do was pull my skin kind of over the speed bump, and then instead of going down where the razor then is riding the speed bump, I turn my razor kind of parallel with the speed bump. And that was a much more comfortable stroke. we go. I'm gonna make sure I leave my face a little bit kind of excessively wet to counteract the thickness of the lather. Help to thin that down just a hair. I got a good whiff of the scent. I like it. It's a good one. However, I don't think I'm really getting it while I'm using it. Try it again, and this time I'll try to notice the scent. Kind of weak. Say maybe a 2 out of 10. All right, enough scrubbing. That's good. You know, you saw this brush rest right here, but this handle is so long that when I put it only on that, I think it was a tilt or something, or maybe it was a flat, and so the brush just slipped right off. So that's interesting. Guess it depends on what brush you have. All right. So I'm liking that. I think as far as comfort goes, this blade feels like a good match for this razor. I am feeling the blade, but in general, it's a consistent feel. You might compare it with maybe a Gillette New or something like that. Probably a little bit more aggressive than that. So it's not a razor that I feel like I can be kind of quick with. Definitely have to watch my technique, watch what I'm doing. It's not as aggressive as the Blackbird. This blade is feeling a little rougher than the GSB I used yesterday, and so I feel like it I would choose the GSB in general over this one. Gillette Silver Blue, and a little half rinse. You know, this pass is almost feeling as aggressive as the Blackbird, that second pass. I think the first pass sometimes it feels better because the skin has not yet been shaven. Whereas with the second and third pass, you've already got a couple of passes in. It's already been raked over with the blade. All right. Well, looks like this thing did mix up. enough soap for me. Third pass. Oh, I know what it was. Okay. I have a thin area around my sink. And so this was kind of precariously perched. It was balanced fine as long as I didn't have anything over here. But then when I put my brush in the rest, it tipped over, and that's what caused the brush to slide off. So if you do have the fine lather bowl and you're thinking about getting this a knot with this tall handle, it will stay on there if you have enough sink to put the bowl on and have it be balanced properly. All right, man, my face feels rough. This blade is maybe too harsh in this razor. Not experiencing any drag at all with this. I'm just, my face feels so raw that I just feel like I'm just going to do a kind of with the grain pass. I will do this area right here to try to see how it gets this area done. Just feel like I need to be really careful, not because like it's any different now. It's just I feel like my skin's been roughed up, and I just feel like I need to be gentle. So, okay, at least in terms of shave feel, for my skin and my hair type, this blade, this 7 o'clock black, is not a good match for me. It's just a little too rough. The Gillette Silver Blue definitely did not produce anywhere near this kind of irritation for me. All right, rinse. Nice slick soap. Don't think WSP gets maybe as much airtime as it deserves, but it's a slick, nice slick soap if you mix it right. Yeah, so I would say I had like I said, I had a 1/4 teaspoon of soap with a little extra, and then I put in just 2 teaspoons of water. And for this soap, it looks like maybe I should have gone a little further. Maybe 2 1/4 teaspoons, 2 1/2 teaspoons would be what I might try next time. All right, let's take a look. I see a good bit of length in blotchy areas over here. But, you know, most of my trouble spot has been well shaven. The result is good. And so what the blotchiness probably comes from, those are being areas where I normally get irritation, and I just didn't want to hit them again because of the roughness of the blade. And I guess that's the catch-22. It's been a sharp blade for me in other razors. It's been good with less aggressive razors. but maybe with this, maybe even probably the Blackbird as well, for me, I probably wouldn't want to pair those two up again. But where I did manage to get some good coverage, it cut flush. So results are in a way good, but because it's so rough, the results are a little splotchy, because I don't feel I can go over that rough area again, some irritated areas again because of the just irritation. So that is what it is. If your skin's different, then you may be able to, if your skin's maybe more resilient, thicker, for lack of a better word, than mine, you may be, this may be a really good matchup for you. All right, that's 3 passes. I did not do my usual neck pass, and so I do have plenty of lather to do what needed to be done. And there's plenty there for the neck pass, and then a little bit of margin. So I'm really happy with that. Let me rinse this out and see if I was able to get up all of that soap. Yeah, looks like there was just a little bit left right in the center right there. So not all of that 1/4 teaspoon plus was incorporated into the lather, just FYI. So there we go. I'll clean up that more in a minute. So because of the rough feeling of my, and it doesn't feel too bad now, but I'm definitely going to want to put something on it that's more of a balm than an alcohol-based splash. And so, enter a gift I recently received, menthol-free. I don't like menthol generally. Soap Commander Integrity. And we are just, and this is nice. It's a very hydrating balm. And we'll just have it be unscented this time so that we can let it do its work. This will be good experiment for this balm. I haven't used it too much. See how he does with helping my skin out. All right, I'm going to pause you while I clean up. So here's this the knot now after I've stropped it a little bit. You can see it's wider than before. It's just really soft, but it's so dense. But I just want to make mention of this tall handle from Whip Dog. A lot of times I'm in the middle of a shave and I find myself trying to re-grip and trying to figure out how else to hold it to feel better about my grip. And this time, and I believe most of the time when I've used this handle, I just haven't felt that at all, and I think that's a good sign. I think that's a sign that it's just a natural fit for me and my hand. I've got big hands, and so I'm really happy with this grip. So I never ended up cutting myself. I was listening to the feel of the irritation and just being kind of conservative. I do see a few little red areas. And you remember earlier I caught this bit of skin, and but apparently I was gentle enough to where it didn't nick me. I don't even feel any irritation over there. So no irritation in the cheek and the convex areas. Seems to shave those well, even with this kind of rough blade, at least for me. But in the neck areas and the soft and the folds and things like that, for me, it was very tricky, and I felt like I was kind of on a tightrope there. I played it safe and just kind of quit, tried to stretch in certain areas, and then finally just left those areas undone, unfinished, and so they're not as well cut as they could have been. But I will say that my guess was right, and that it was not a problem to generate all the lather I needed in this bowl, because, and I just assume it's because of the smaller brush size. That brush is just much smaller than the other ones that I use, because of the loft is shorter, and so it worked just well. It worked very well in this bowl. I have to try it again. Now, one tip I saw online was a person recommended not to put alcohol splashes on shaven areas. You know, and you could kind of see that. It's just an area that's been traumatized with the blade. And alcohol, you know, is not all that agreeable sometimes to wounds. It does have antiseptic issues, of course. You know, it's helpful in that way. But the person recommended putting your splash on like the back of your neck, or on small other areas, so that you could still kind of get it. See, by habit, I put a little bit on my cheek over there. Fortunately, it only stung just a very tiny bit, because that was an easy shave area. And what I wanted to try today was a recent win in the Lather games. A prize that I achieved was Summer Break Soaps History 101, and I really like this scent. I'm so glad this is a departure from a lot of his scents. I'm so glad he made it. I really like it. Yeah, that's nice. So we'll try that. Yeah, no stinging, of course, by doing it on the back of my neck, because it's not a shaved area. So what I get in terms of the scent from the History 101, where it almost takes me to, is I toured the Biltmore house once, mansion in North Carolina, in Asheville, North Carolina. Gorgeous, you know, George Vanderbilt, I think was the guy's name. And he had a room that was for guys, and it had trophy animal heads up on the walls. It had a pool table. It had comfy leather chairs. It was the walls were wooden in most cases, very ornate. Had some books there too. Just, you know, these very comfortable leather chairs that were with a little table in between, I believe, so that you could sit and have a drink, probably smoke. And that's where it took me. That's where the scent took me. It seems like that's where it belongs. And not because it doesn't smell at all like an ashtray, but just maybe the wood, I mean, it smells like it has some leather in it, and kind of some tobacco, but it's a really nice blend. And so the tobacco, you know, I can't even, normally you can say, well, it's tobacco smoke or it's tobacco flower, you know, and you can kind of, but I can't really pick out kind of which one it is. So it must be blending with some other ingredients. But definitely a manly, warm scent, especially for the, not for the summer, you know, for those other times of the year, because it's so warm. But I like that kind of stuff, you know, in a year, any time of the year. So really happy with the History 101 Summer Break Soaps. So sum up, this was a harsh shave, as you probably figured out by now. Just fine on the cheeks. I still feel a little bit of irritation in my neck area. I'd say maybe a 2 or 3 out of 10. However, I'm confident it's going to go away soon. Oh yeah, I got a couple little red guys right here. I don't usually get them right here. That's interesting. I must just not have managed. I think skin management, if you have skin like mine in the neck area, I think that's very important for if you're going to use this razor, and maybe any aggressive razor like this. But especially with this, at least with my skin, especially with this particular blade. So I definitely prefer, so far, the Gillette Silver Blue, which is makes an important point that when you get a new razor, try a bunch of blades in it. Don't just try the one you've always been using. If you've got a stack of 100 and you're just going through them, if that doesn't feel awesome for you, get a sampler and try some more with your new razor to make sure you're getting the one that feels the best, because razors are different. Your skin is different and all that. I'll say, of course, that the blades are very subjective. Just because this one's rough for me, it may not be rough for you. It may be the perfect blade for you. So it just varies, and you have to try them out. So there we go. The brush worked great in terms of the tips. This time it was a little hard to splay, but it's so dense you almost don't have to splay it. But I kind of want to splay it. It just feels better to generally to do that. So we'll see how that matures, and really happy. This particular mix of the soap gave me zero drag on the razor that some people might have been complaining about. So there's that. I think we're good. A little on the rough side. I won't be pairing the black as far as I can remember. If I can keep it in my brain, keep that black away from the dart for my own self. We'll keep trying more. We'll see what happens. So I hope this was of some help to you. And it's late. Time to go to bed. Good night.